Something happened to me, and to this day, I can't understand it. My name is Viter, I'm 34 years old, and I work as the night manager of a gas station on Route 66 in the middle of Arizona. It's one of those forgotten places between small towns, the kind of rest stop that exists more for truckers and lost travelers than anything else. The night shift has always been mine, from 10 at night to 6 in the morning. 8 hours alone, surrounded by desert, silence, and the constant hum of the convenience store refrigerators. I don't mind the solitude. In fact, I prefer it. After my marriage ended, I realized that silence was more honest than any conversation. The gas station is old. It was built in the 90s, renovated on top, but you can feel its age in the cracks in the concrete and the smell of old oil that never completely goes away. 4 gas pumps, a shop with snacks, reheated coffee and cigarettes, external bathrooms that are always clogged, and a small covered area where truckers park to sleep. I knew every sound from that place. The wind whistling through the metal roof panels made a low, almost musical whistle. Streetlights attracted moths and crickets that constantly bumped against the shop window. The red neon sign, open 24/7, blinked every 7 seconds. I counted them when I was bored. And he was always bored. The routine was simple. Attend to the few customers who showed up, clean the pumps, check the inventory, smoke a cigarette in the back while watching the desert stretch out until it disappeared into the darkness. Sometimes I would go an entire hour without seeing a single car. But that night, something changed. I still didn't know. I still thought it was just another night. Another 8 empty hours. Another shift where time passed too slowly and too quickly at the same time. I was wrong, because that morning, the gas station started to disappear, and I was with him. It was around 1 in the morning when the truck stopped. I was behind the counter, leafing through an old magazine someone had left there weeks ago, when I heard the rumble of a diesel engine cutting through the silence. A blue Freightliner, dirtied from the road, with Texas plates. The driver got out slowly, adjusting his cap while looking around with a confused expression. He was a big man, in his early 50s, with a gray beard and a plaid shirt stained with coffee. The kind of guy you see at any truck stop, tired, but used to the road, but he didn't seem used to it. He entered the store, grabbed a bottle of water and a pre-made sandwich from the refrigerator, and came to the counter. I scanned the items, but before I could give him the total, he interrupted me. "Hey, man." His voice had a strange tone, hesitant. "This gas station here, how long has it been around?" I looked at him, not understanding the question. "About 30 years, I think. Why?" He scratched his beard, looked out the glass window at the illuminated bombs outside, and then back at me. "It's just that I swear I don't remember ever seeing him before. And I've been taking this route for 15 years. I shrugged. "Perhaps you've always passed by during the day. At night, things seem different." He shook his head slowly, but didn't seem convinced. "No, man, that's not it." He pulled his cell phone out of his pocket and opened the GPS. He turned the screen towards me. "Look at this." I leaned over the counter. The map showed Route 66, the straight line of highway cutting through the desert. But where the gas station marker should have been, there was nothing, just an empty green blotch, as if we weren't even there. "The GPS erased you from the map," he said, with a half-awkward smile. "I had to rely on instinct. When I saw the lights, I thought I'd found the right place. But I don't know. It's strange." I laughed. A short, somewhat nervous laugh. Probably some bug in the app. It happens. He didn't laugh back. He just stared at me for a few seconds, then grabbed his bag and left without saying anything else. I stood there, looking out the window while he filled up the tank. He kept checking his phone, frowning, looking around as if trying to understand something that didn't make sense. When he finished, he got into the truck and drove off slowly. Before turning onto the road, he looked back, at me, and I swear I saw fear in that look. I tried to ignore it. I went back to the magazine, to the reheated coffee, to the silence. But something inside me already knew. That wasn't a bug. I became uneasy after the truck driver left. I couldn't stop thinking about what he had said, the way he looked at his phone, the fear hidden behind that awkward half-smile. I grabbed my own cell phone and opened Google Maps. The screen loaded. The little blue dot appeared. It was me. But all around, nothing. Just a green expanse of desert. Route 66 was there, a thin line cutting through the digital landscape. But the gas station, the building where I was standing at that exact moment, it didn't exist. I brought the map closer with my fingers. Nothing. I moved it away. Nothing. I tried Waze. Same thing. A blank space where there should be a red marker with the gas station's name. Apple Maps. Nada. I felt something icy run down my spine. I stepped out from behind the counter and went to the glass door. I pushed it open and went out onto the patio illuminated by the yellow lights of the streetlights. The night air was cold and biting. I raised my cell phone and took a picture of the gas station. The image was clear. The pumps, the flashing sign, the lit windows of the store. I sent the photo to my ex, Jennifer. She was still my emergency contact. The message went through, but it stayed as sending for several seconds before finally showing delivered. I typed, "Can you see where I am in this photo?" I waited. 1 minute. 2. Nothing. I called her. It rang once, twice, 3 times, and went to voicemail. I tried my brother. Same thing. The signal was there, 3 bars in the corner of the screen, but no one answered. I went back inside and sat on the stool behind the counter. The digital clock above the beverage refrigerator read 1:47 a.m. I could hear my own breathing. The hum of the fluorescent lights seemed louder than usual. That's when another car appeared. A silver sedan, covered in dust, stopped crookedly in front of the second bomb. A woman got out. She must have been about 40, her hair tied in a messy ponytail, her eyes wide. She didn't come to refuel. He came straight to the store door and went inside, looking around as if he were running away from something. You work here?" Her voice trembled. "Yes, Is this place on the map?" She interrupted me. "Because I've been driving down this road for 40 minutes and I can't get out. Every time I turn, I come back here. Every time." My stomach churned. "Wait, what?" She pulled out her cell phone, her hands trembling. "Look, I put in my home address. It's 20 minutes from here, but every time I follow the instructions." She paused, taking a deep breath. "I end up coming back here." She showed me the screen. Her GPS was recalculating the route, and all the routes, all of them, ended at the gas station. They didn't go out. They were finishing. I looked into her eyes, and I saw the same fear I had seen in the truck driver, but now, I felt it too. If this made you uncomfortable, wait for the next chapter. The woman stood there, staring at her cell phone as if it were about to break at any moment. "That doesn't make sense," she whispered. "I live nearby. I know these roads." I tried to stay calm. I tried to appear in control. "Look, it must be some problem with the signal, or, I don't know, interference. Sometimes it happens in the desert." She looked at me as if I had said the stupidest thing in the world. "Interference." Her voice rose in tone. "I saw the exit sign. I took it. I drove straight for 15 minutes. And when I looked out the window, I was back here, at the same gas station, as if I'd never left." My mouth went dry. "Try again, slowly. Pay attention to the signs." She gave a short, humorless laugh. "Do you think I didn't try?" Before I could answer, I heard the sound of another engine. I turned my head. 2 headlights cut through the darkness, and a red pickup truck pulled into the yard, stopping beside her sedan. A man got off the bus. Younger, in his early 20s, wearing a hooded sweatshirt, with a lost expression. He looked at the gas station, then at the woman, then at me. You too? He asked, his voice hoarse. The woman turned to him. What else? They can't get out. Silence. She swallowed hard. How long have you been trying? An hour, he replied. Maybe more. I don't even know anymore. I felt my heart beat faster. 3 people. 3. I stepped out from behind the counter and went to the door. The cold morning air hit me again, but this time it brought something with it, a feeling of heaviness, as if the silence around the gas station was too thick. Listen, I said, trying to sound firm. You 2 are leaving here now, together. Go the same way. If one of you turns back, the other continues. Someone has to make it. The boy shook his head. Man, I already tried that. I followed a truck for 10 minutes. It disappeared. Just vanished from my sight. And I ended up here again. The woman put her hand to her mouth. My God. Another car appeared. Then another one. Within 15 minutes, there were 6 vehicles stopped in the gas station's parking lot. 6 different people, all with the same story. They couldn't get out. No matter what they did, all the roads led them back. One of them, an older man in a rumpled suit with sunken eyes, entered the store and went straight to me. This post, he began, his voice low and controlled, but with something off beneath. This post shouldn't be here. What do you mean? I asked. He pulled a paper map from the inside pocket of his jacket, a real map, old, folded and marked with pen. I've been driving this route for 20 years. He opened the map on the counter and pointed. Here. This is where we are, right? I looked. He was right. Yes. He ran his finger over the paper. There's no gas station here. There never has been. My blood ran cold. But I looked around. We're here. This place exists. He stared at me. And for the first time, I saw something worse than fear in his eyes. I saw certainty. It exists now, he said. But it didn't exist yesterday. The man's words kept echoing in my head. Yesterday didn't exist. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to tell him he was crazy, but the way he spoke, calm, direct, like someone who knows exactly what he's saying, left me speechless. The others started coming into the store. Everyone wanted answers. They all looked at me as if I knew something, but I didn't know anything. Did anyone call the police? One of the women asked. I tried. The boy in the sweatshirt replied. It doesn't complete. It keeps calling and then it falls apart. And what about 911? Same thing. The woman in the sedan began pacing back and forth, her hands in her hair. This can't be happening. It can't. I looked at the clock. 2:34 a.m. There were still more than 3 hours left until my shift ended. 3 hours until sunrise. Until someone from the morning shift arrived. Wait. What if no one showed up? I pushed the thought away. Okay, I said, raising my voice so everyone could hear. I'm going out. I'll drive to the nearest town and get help. In the meantime, you stay here. There's food, there's water, there are bathrooms. You'll be safe. The man in the suit looked at me with that unsettling calmness. You won't be able to do it. I go, I work here, I insisted. I leave here every day. But today isn't every day, he replied. I ignored it. I grabbed the keys to my truck, which were hanging on a hook behind the counter, and went out the back door. My car was parked outside, leaning against the wall, an old, scratched but reliable Ford. I got in, started the engine, and slowly drove out of the parking lot. The road ahead was empty. The gas station lights faded into the distance in the rearview mirror until they were just a yellow dot in the darkness. The desert stretched out on both sides, silent and vast. I took a deep breath. It was working. I drove for 5 minutes, 10, 15. Nothing has changed. Only road, only darkness, until I saw something ahead. Lights. Yellow lights. A flashing sign. No No. I stepped on the brake. The car skidded and stopped in the middle of the road. I was back, in front of the gas station, same position, same bombs, same people standing in the courtyard, looking at me through the window. My heart raced. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. I tried to understand. I tried to find a logical explanation. There wasn't one. I stumbled out of the car and looked around. Everything was the same, absolutely the same. I drove straight, I murmured. I didn't turn. The man in the suit was standing in the doorway of the store, his arms crossed. I warned you. My breathing was rapid and shallow. I felt my legs give way. That's not possible. But it's real, he said, in that cold, controlled voice. And the sooner you accept it, the better. I looked at the others. They all had the same look. The look of someone who had already tried, of someone who already knew. I was imprisoned. We were trapped. And the gas station wouldn't let us leave. I couldn't accept it. I got back in the truck, started the engine, and accelerated. This time faster, more determined. If something was bringing me back, I was going to force my way out. I passed 80, then 100. The speedometer climbed as the road disappeared beneath the tires, wind whistling through the windows, heart pounding in my chest like a drum. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. I didn't want to see the gas station disappear again. I only looked ahead, to the road, to the desert, for lights, yellow, blinking. No, I yelled, punching the steering wheel. I slammed on the brakes. The car skidded, making a sharp turn before coming to a stop sideways on the track. The gas station, again. Same location, same bombs, same people. I hit my forehead on the steering wheel, once, twice, 3 times. I tried to breathe, but the air wouldn't come in properly. My vision was blurry. Sweat dripped down my forehead despite the cold night air. I got out of the car, unsteady, my legs trembling, and saw the man in the suit still there, standing like a statue. "How many times?" he asked calmly. "What? How many times will you try before you understand?" I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to punch that expressionless face. But I couldn't. I could only fall to my knees on the cold asphalt, my hands trembling. The woman in the sedan approached and crouched down beside me. "I tried 7 times, she said softly. "I always come back." The boy in the sweatshirt was sitting on the curb, his head in his hands. I tried the left, the right, the back exits. It doesn't matter. Always the same place. One of the others, an older truck driver in a worn jacket, lit a cigarette and slowly exhaled the smoke. "It's like the road is doubled," he said. "Like it doesn't matter where we go. We're always coming back." I raised my head and looked at the gas station. The lights, the pumps, the flashing sign. Open 24/7. Open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Always open. Always. "What if we go on foot?" the woman asked. "I tried," the boy replied. "I walked until I couldn't see the gas station anymore. When I looked back, it was there, right behind me, as if it had followed me." Silence. No one else suggested anything, because everyone knew. There was no way out. I stood up slowly, wiped the sweat from my face, and went back inside the store. The others followed me, as if they had nowhere else to go, and they really didn't. I looked at the clock, 3:03 a.m. The second hand kept moving, but time seemed to have stopped. I sat behind the counter and rested my head in my hands. I tried to think. I tried to find logic, but there was no logic to it. There was only the gas station, and us, prisoners. The woman from the sedan came to the counter, took a bottle of water from the refrigerator, and drank it in silence. When she finished, she looked at me. "Do you live nearby?" she asked. "About 40 minutes. Is someone waiting for you?" I thought about my ex, my brother, my empty and predictable life. "No," I replied. "There's nobody here." She nodded, as if she understood. Me either. And at that moment, I realized something worse than being imprisoned. I realized that maybe no one would miss us. Hours passed, or at least, I think they passed. The clock kept ticking, the hands moved, but something was wrong. Time didn't seem real. It was as if each minute lasted too long, or too fast. I couldn't tell. People tried to sleep. Some spread out on the plastic benches in the rest area, others stayed in their cars. The young man in the sweatshirt fell asleep leaning against the drinks refrigerator, his breathing heavy. I stayed awake. I couldn't close my eyes. I looked out the glass window. The desert was still there, vast and empty, illuminated only by the faint light of the waning moon. No cars passed, no sound other than the wind and the electric hum of the gas station. That's when I realized no new cars had arrived. Since the last wave of arrests, no one else has come forward. It's as if the gas station has ceased to exist for everyone else, except for us. I picked up my cell phone. It was 4:15 in the morning. I still had a signal, 3 bars, but when I tried to open any website, nothing loaded. Messages wouldn't go through. Calls wouldn't connect. I tried the gas station radio. I slowly turned the dial, searching for a station. Static, just static. Until, for a brief moment, I heard a voice. Distant, fragmented. Nobody knows. The post disappeared from, and then it went back to static, guided. I turned the dial again. Nothing, just white noise. Had he heard that? Or had he imagined it? I got up and went to the back door, the one that led to the employee parking lot. I opened it slowly and went out. The air was colder now, almost biting. My breath came out in clouds of steam. I walked to the edge of the streetlights, where darkness began to engulf everything. I took another step, and that's when I felt it. A presence. It wasn't something I saw. It was something too felt like when you know someone is watching you, even without looking. An invisible weight in the air, an attention focused on you. I turned my head slowly. Nothing. Only the desert. Only darkness. But the feeling didn't go away. Something was there. Something was observing. I ran back inside. I locked the door. My hands were trembling. My heart was pounding. The man in the suit was awake, sitting at one of the tables, staring out the window with that blank expression. "Did you feel it too?" he asked without looking at me. "Feel what?" My voice came out higher pitched than I intended. "That we are not alone." I swallowed hard. "There's nobody outside." He finally looked at me. I didn't say I had somebody. I said that we are not alone. The cold I felt outside was now inside me. I went to the counter and turned on the security camera monitor. 6 small screens showed different angles of the gas station. The pumps, the parking lot, the rest area, the bathrooms, the back. Everything is empty. Everything is at a standstill. Everything normal. So why did I feel like I was being watched? I looked at the screen of the rear camera, the same area where I had just been. Empty. Nothing was moving. But then, something happened. Fast. A shadow. A shape. Something that shouldn't be there. I froze it. I went back to the image. I went through it frame by frame. Here you go. A silhouette. Tall. Too thin. Standing just beyond the line of light. Stop. Looking at the camera. Looking at me. I turned off the monitor. My hands were cold. My stomach churned. That shape. That silhouette. It wasn't human. It didn't move like something human. I took a deep breath. I tried to convince myself it was just a camera malfunction. A blur. A shadow cast by something I hadn't seen. But I knew. You knew that I had seen. I looked at the man in the suit. He remained seated, motionless, staring out the window, as if waiting for something. I went to the beverage refrigerator and grabbed a can of energy drink. I opened it. I drank it. The liquid was lukewarm. I found it strange. The refrigerator was on. I could hear the motor humming, but the drink was warm. I opened the glass door and reached inside. Cold. The air was cold, but the drinks, no. I grabbed another can. Warm. I grabbed a third, same thing, as if they had been placed there minutes ago, not hours. I closed the door slowly and looked around the store. That's when I noticed the products on the shelves were different. Not completely, but enough to be impossible to ignore. The brand of chips that used to be on the second shelf, Crunchy Ranch, was now Ranch Crunchies. Same product, same packaging. But the name was reversed. The chocolate, I was sure, was Hershey's, now said Hershey's, without the second H. I went to the cigarette shelf behind the counter. The brand I always sold, Marlboro, was spelled Marlboro, without the last O. Small changes, almost imperceptible, but they're wrong. Everything was wrong. I looked at the clock on the wall, 4:47 a.m., but I was sure, certainty, which was 4:15 a.m., 5 minutes ago. Time was jumping around, or I was losing pieces of him. The woman in the sedan woke with a muffled scream. She sat up quickly, eyes wide, breathless. "I dreamt," she began, but stopped. She looked around. "I dreamt I was at home, but when I opened the door, I was here, again." The boy in the sweatshirt woke up too, rubbing his eyes. "What time is it?" "On almost 5, why?" I replied. He frowned. "That's impossible." I just closed my eyes, but the clock didn't lie, or was he lying? I went to the front door and looked up at the sky. It was still dark, completely dark, with no sign that the sun was rising. But it should be getting lighter, even if only a little. It always got lighter before 6. "The sun isn't going to rise," the man in the suit said behind me. I turned around. "What did you say?" "The sun," he repeated, slowly rising from his chair, "isn't going to rise. Not here. That's ridiculous." "Really?" He approached. "Look outside. Look at the sky. Do you see the moon? Do you see the stars?" I looked. He was right. The sky was empty. Black. No moon. No stars. Nothing. Just a dense, oppressive emptiness that seemed to weigh down everything. "Where are we?" the woman asked, her voice breaking. No one answered, because nobody knew. Or perhaps, because everyone already suspected it. The radio started crackling again. By itself. I hadn't turned it on. I turned my head. The static was loud, unsettling, but beneath it, voices, many voices, overlapping, speaking at the same time. "Don't go out. Stay away from windows. He sees you." And then, silence. The radio was turned off, alone. I looked at the others. They had all heard. The boy in the sweatshirt was pale. Who's speaking?" No one answered, because the truth was worse than any answer. Something was with us, and it was beginning to reveal itself. No one slept again after that. We all stayed awake, scattered around the store, looking anywhere but at each other, as if looking into someone's eyes would confirm that it was real. The silence was dense, oppressive. Even the hum of the refrigerators seemed quieter, muffled, as if the gas station itself were holding its breath. I was behind the counter, trying to maintain some sense of control, when I heard it. Steps, coming from the bathroom hallway. Slow, dragging, as if someone were walking with difficulty. Everyone stopped. Everyone listened. "Is anyone there?" the woman in the sedan asked, her voice low. I looked around. I counted mentally. 6 people in the store. All visible. "We're all here," I murmured. The footsteps continued. "Drag, drag, drag." The boy in the sweatshirt stood up, tense. It could be someone who arrived and we didn't see them. "No one has arrived," the man in the suit said coldly. "No one has come for hours." The footsteps stopped, right at the entrance to the hallway. I looked. There was no one there. Only the bathroom door, slightly open, and the darkness beyond it. "I'll take a look," I said, more to myself than to the others. "No," the woman said quickly. "Don't do that." "It has to be something," I insisted. "It could be a burst pipe, or—" "It wasn't a pipe," she interrupted me. "Those were footsteps." I knew, but I couldn't accept it. I grabbed a flashlight from under the counter and went out into the hallway. My own footsteps echoed, much louder than they should have. The air was colder there. Much colder. I pushed open the door to the men's restroom. Empty. 3 stalls, 2 sinks, a cracked mirror on the wall. Nothing. Then I listened again. But now, it was coming from inside one of the cabins, breathing, heavy, slow, like something large trying to suck in air. My whole body froze. The flashlight trembled in my hand. Is anyone there?" My voice came out weak. Breathing stopped. Silence. And then, bang! The cabin door slammed open, banging against the wall. I screamed. I fell backward. The flashlight slipped from my hand and rolled across the floor, but there was no one there. The cabin was empty. Empty! I dragged myself out of the bathroom, my heart pounding in my chest. The others came running. "What happened?" the boy shouted. I don't know." My voice trembled. "The door, it opened by itself." "Wind," the older truck driver said, but even he didn't seem convinced. "There was no wind," I replied, standing up. "There was nothing." I went back inside the store and looked at the camera monitor. 6 screens, 6 different angles, and in all of them, shadows. They weren't normal shadows. They were shapes that shouldn't be there. Silhouettes that moved around the corners of the cameras, always on the edges, always almost invisible. But they were there, and they were getting closer. "Look at this," I said, turning the monitor towards the other people. Everyone gathered around. Everyone saw. One of the shadows passed by the camera of bomb number 3. It was tall, disproportionately tall, and it moved erratically, as if it were floating or gliding. "What is that?" the woman whispered. "I don't know." Then, in the background camera, another shape appeared. Still, motionless, looking directly at the camera. Looking at us. And this time, we could see more. It wasn't a person. It was something to do with form of a person, but wrong, elongated, tilted, with limbs that were too thin and a head that hung to the side, as if the neck were broken. The boy in the sweatshirt took a step back. "This isn't real. It's not real." But it was. And while we were watching, things started to move. Towards the gas station, towards the back door, towards us. "Lock the doors," I yelled. The boy in the sweatshirt ran to the front door and turned the key. The woman in the sedan ran to the back door and pushed the bolt. The sound of metal clicking together echoed through the store, but I didn't feel safe anymore. Everyone gathered in the center of the store, away from the windows, away from the doors. We looked at each other. Nobody knew what to do. "This can't be happening," the woman repeated, her voice breaking. "This can't be." The camera monitor showed the creature, or whatever it was, standing outside the back door. Motionless, as if you were waiting. "What are you waiting for?" The older truck driver pulled a screwdriver from his jacket pocket. "If that thing gets in, I'm going to." "What are you going to do?" The man in the suit interrupted him. "Do you think this is something that could get hurt? I'm not going to just stand here waiting." "So what do you suggest?" the man replied coldly. "That we run away." "Where to? We can't get out of here. You've tried. We've all tried. Silence. He was right. We were trapped. And now, something was with us. That's when the lights started flickering. Once, 2, 3 times. And then they erased it. Total darkness. Someone shouted. I heard footsteps, gasping breaths, hands groping in the air. "Calm down," I shouted. "Everyone stay still." I grabbed my phone and turned on the flashlight. The faint light cut through the darkness. Others did the same. Soon there were 4 or 5 points of light flickering across the store. And that's when we heard it. Beats. At the back door. Tum, tum, tum. Slow, deliberate. As if something were testing their endurance. "Don't open it," I whispered. "Nobody opens it." The banging stopped. Silence. I pointed my phone's light at the door. Locked. Firmly. And then, scratches. On the other side of the door, nails or claws scraping against the metal. A sharp, cutting sound that made my teeth ache. The woman in the sedan covered her ears, tears streaming down her face. "Make it stop, and please, make it stop." But it didn't stop. The sound intensified, as if there were more than one thing scratching. Multiple hands, multiple claws. And then, silence again. I looked at the monitor. The cameras were still working, powered by the emergency generator. The creature was no longer at the back door. I was at the window. Inside the store, my blood ran cold. I turned the light on my cell phone. Here you go. She was less than 3 meters from us, standing still, motionless, her head tilted at an impossible angle, her long, thin limbs hanging by her sides, and her face. The face was the worst part. It had no eyes, just holes. Deep, empty, but I could feel it. I felt her, selling. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Things have taken a step forward, then another one. The sound it made when it walked was wet, slimy, like you were stepping on something that shouldn't be there. The boy in the sweatshirt started to cry, "Please, please no." The creature stopped in front of him. He tilted his head even further and opened his mouth. There were no teeth. There was no tongue. Just a black void that seemed to suck the light away from its surroundings. And then, he spoke. Not with words, but with sounds that shouldn't come from anything living. A hiss, a grunt, a distorted whisper that echoed inside my head. "You shouldn't be here." The boy screamed. He ran. He banged on the front door, punching the glass, yelling for help. The creature turned its head toward him, and in an impossible movement, too fast, too smooth, she was beside him. He stopped shouting. He stopped moving. It fell to the ground, and he did not get up. No one went to the boy. Nobody was able to move. He lay on the ground, face down, motionless. The creature remained beside him, its head tilted, watching, as if waiting for someone to do something. But nobody did. The man in the suit was the only one who didn't seem terrified. He looked at the creature with his usual blank expression and whispered, "I knew." "Did you know what?" My voice came out hoarse. He didn't answer immediately. He just kept staring. The creature began to move away from the boy's body. It slid, because it wasn't walking. It was slide, all the way to the bathroom hallway, and disappeared into the darkness. As soon as she disappeared, I ran to the boy and turned him around. He was breathing. Unconscious, but breathing. "He's alive," I announced, relieved. But something was wrong. His face was different. His eyes were open, but empty, as if he were looking at something very far away, something we couldn't see. The woman in the sedan knelt beside me. What happened to him? I don't know. The man in the suit finally spoke. "She took something from him." "What?" I asked, turning to him. part of who he was. He pointed to the boy's empty eyes. Look, he's still here, but he's not anymore. Present. I felt a shiver run down my spine. How do you know that? He finally looked me in the eyes, because I've been through this before. Silence. What? The woman whispered. This gas station, he began, his voice low but firm. I've been here before. 3 years ago. I worked for a trucking company. I made deliveries along Route 66. One night, I stopped here to refuel, and I couldn't leave. My stomach churned. You're lying. I spent 2 days imprisoned here, he continued, ignoring my accusation. I saw the same things. I heard the same voices. I saw the same creatures. And when finally, I left. I woke up in the hospital. 3 days later. They said they found me unconscious in the middle of the road. No injuries. No explanation. So how did you get back? The truck driver asked. I didn't come back, he replied. I never left. The sentence hung in the air. That doesn't make sense, I said. It does, he insisted. Everything here makes sense, but not in the way you want it to. This place, it's not real. Not in the way you understand it. It's a piece of something that shouldn't exist, but does anyway. What are you talking about? Alternate dimensions, portals. My voice was sarcastic, but it was just to hide my fear. He shook his head. No, I'm talking about limbo from a place in between life and death, between existing and not existing. And we fell here. Oh, that's madness, the woman said, but her voice trembled. Is that so? He pointed to the window, to the empty sky. Then explain to me where the stars are. Explain to me why the sun doesn't rise. Explain to me why the road always brings us back to the same place. No one answered, because there was no answer. He went to the counter and pulled out a drawer from under the cash register. He took out an old, worn notebook with yellowed pages. I found this the last time I was here, he said, throwing the notebook on the table. I opened it slowly. There were names written, dozens of names, dates, some with shaky handwriting, others steady. They all said the same thing. Trapped. I can't get out. It's been 3 days already. Nobody's come. I saw something. It's not human. If anyone finds this, don't come to the station. My breath caught in my throat. I turned the pages. More names. More dates, some from years ago, decades ago. And finally, a recent note. Very recent. Viter, night shift. If you're reading this, you're already in jail. It was my handwriting. But I hadn't written that. I hadn't written it. I looked at the man in the suit. He had a sad expression. You've been here before, Viter. You just don't remember. No. I shook my head. No, that's not possible. Yes, he said. And it will happen again, and again, and again, until you understand. Understand what? He pointed to the window, to the creature that was now outside, standing still, watching. That you never left. I didn't accept. I couldn't accept it. I threw the notebook away and took a step back. That's a lie. I've worked here for months. I remember every day, every shift, every... I stopped. I tried to remember. I tried to remember how I had started working there, who hired me, when my first day was. Nothing. Just empty. You don't remember, do you? The man in the suit said softly. Because it never happened. You were already here when you started to remember. You were already in prison. My legs gave way. I held onto the counter to keep from falling. No, no. The woman in the sedan was crying now. The older truck driver sat on the ground, his head in his hands. Everyone was beginning to understand. I looked out the window. The creature was still there, motionless, the empty holes where its eyes should have been fixed on me. And then, she turned around, and he started walking, not far away, inward. The lights came back on, all at once, too bright, blinding. I covered my eyes. When I opened them again, I was alone. There was no one else in the store. Not the woman, not the truck driver, not the man in the suit, not even the boy lying on the ground. They had all disappeared. "No!" I shouted. "Where are you?" I ran to the door. It was unlocked. I opened it. The desert stretched out before me, but it wasn't the same desert. It was different. The colors were wrong. The sky was a dirty gray. The air smelled of metal and wet earth. And on the road, footprints. They weren't human. They were large, dragged, as if something heavy had passed through there. I ran back inside the store and locked the door. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I looked at the clock, 5:58 a.m. 2 minutes until my shift ends. It takes 2 minutes for someone from the morning shift to arrive, but nobody was going to arrive. I knew. I went to the counter. The notebook was still there. I opened it to the last page. My handwriting, my name. I picked up a pen and I wrote. I tried to leave. I tried 1,000 times, but I always come back. The job won't let me go. And now, I know. I've always been here, and you will be too. If you're reading this, I'm sorry, but there's no way out. I closed the notebook and went back behind the counter. The clock struck 6 in the morning, and then I heard it, the roar of an engine. I looked out the window. A car pulled into the yard, a silver sedan, covered in dust. A woman came down. Her hair was tied in a ponytail. Her eyes were wide. She looked around, confused, and he came towards the door. I already knew what she was going to say. I already knew what was going to happen, because it had happened before, and it was going to happen again, and again, and again. She went inside. You work here?" Her voice trembled. I looked at her, and she smiled. Because I finally understood. I was not the prisoner. I was part of the prison. "Yes," I replied calmly. "I work here. How can I help you?" She showed me her cell phone. "This place doesn't appear on the map." I nodded. "Yes, that has been happening. But don't worry, you're safe here." She looked around, nervously. I tried to leave, but I always come back." "Everyone comes back," I said, still smiling. And then, she realized. He noticed something about me, in my eyes, in my voice, and he felt fear, from the station, and from me, because I was no longer Vitor. I was something else, something the gas station had done, something that the post needed. And as she backed away, terrified, I heard her, the voice, that distorted, impossible voice. But now, it was coming from within me. "Welcome back." And I laughed, because finally, I was home. If you listen to the end, you're already one of us. Subscribe so you don't miss the next whisper.